All right, welcome to my third league of the new year. Today I've got a fun one. I am going back to my roots. Anybody who is familiar with me in Vintage knows that I have a long-term and perhaps ill-advised and unhealthy fixation on decks that combine Bazaar of Baghdad and Mishra's Workshop. And that's what I've got today. And particularly, I have a Vengevine Hollow One variant, so an Agravine approach. So like a typical Agravine deck, we've got a bunch of the normal stuff. So like I said, we've got the Hollowvine package, Serum Powders, Once Upon a Time, and crucially, the Collector Oof and the Gaia's Cradle to power it out. So the standard Agravine list is trying to use a Bazaar to get some free creatures on turn 1, and then use a Gaia's Cradle to get a Collector Oof out on turn 2. Really helpful against artifact-based combo decks like Jewel and PO. That said, a common problem with the Oof is that it can be a turn too slow. Like Vintage is a very fast format. Sometimes you start with your 9 power on turn 1 and pass the turn, and then your opponent just kills you, and you're stuck feeling pretty silly with this Collector Oof in your hand. What I want to know with this list, or what I'm trying out, is whether it's worth playing Null Rods in addition to the Oofs. And the advantage of the Null Rod is that you can use Workshops or Ancient Tombs to get it in play a turn sooner than the Collector Oof. So basically what this list can do is invert the standard Agravine approach. So instead of going Bazaar on turn 1 and Null Rod on turn 2, this can go Null Rod on turn 1 and Bazaar on turn 2. Now, the really nice thing about these Workshops and Tombs is they let you cast a lot of cards that you wouldn't otherwise be able to cast in a standard Agravine deck, or at least not as easily. So Hollow One is obviously the first that comes to mind. 2 of the Workshops, or a Workshop and Ancient Tomb, will let you cast the Hollow One very easily. But it also lets you do some other spicier things, like play additional discard outlets. So one of the nice things about this deck is that it really doesn't need Bazaar to function. You can get hands where you start with a Null Rod on turn 1, and then a Scrapwork Mutt on turn 2. And what the Scrapwork Mutt is, it's a 2-mana 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you can discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So you could have a Workshop, play the Scrapwork Mutt, discard a Vengevine, and then play a Stonecoil Serpent, say at 1 mana, 3 mana, 7 power, 4 of its haste. And if it's turn 2, if you've started with a Null Rod, turn 2 you could have double Workshop and Scrapwork Mutt and play the Hollow One. The Scrapwork Mutt also plays a Lizard for free, and it can help turn on your Gaia's Cradles. Now, in addition to the Scrapwork Mutt, I'm also trying Lesser Masticore. That's a 2-mana 2/2 as an additional cost to cast it. You have to discard a card. Has a couple of abilities that don't matter very much. So one is 4 mana, deals 1 damage to target creature, and it also has Persist. The pinging ability doesn't come up much, especially in a deck with 8 Null Rods in it, but every once in a while it comes up, and when it does, it's pretty fun. But the reason that I have the Masticores in here is because they have a couple of advantages over the Scrapwork Mutt. One is that the discard portion is baked into the cost. So what I mean by that is, if you cast this Lesser Masticore, you get to put your Vengevine in the graveyard, or you get to cast your Basking Rootwalla, and it doesn't matter if your opponent has Force of Will. And that is as opposed to the Scrapwork Mutt, where if you cast it and your opponent counters it, that can really hobble you. Now, the Lesser Masticore also has an additional advantage, and that is it is better against Orcish Bowmasters. So not only does it have 2 toughness, but the discard portion doesn't have a draw a card ability baked into it. So with the Scrapwork Mutt, you can discard your Vengevine, they flash into Bowmasters, and if you choose to discard that card and draw, then they're going to get another ping and a bigger zombie token, or orc token, whatever it is. So in Every other situation, I think the Scrapwork Mutt is better, and I suspect that this deck should be on 4 Scrapwork Mutts and not the split, but we're going to keep the split in for now, try to pay attention to when the lesser Masticore would be better or worse. Okay. A couple of other things about this list. Most importantly, I think to cover is the Stone Coil Serpent. So you'll notice there's only 4 lizards in this list. Most Vengevine, or pretty much all Vengevine decks, have 8 lizards instead. This Stone Coil Serpent is functioning as lizards 5 through 8. The reason that I'm playing the Stone Coil Serpent instead is because it's so good in the metagame right now. With all these Luris decks running around, there are a lot of Psychic Frogs, and Stone Coil Serpent is really good against Psychic Frog. At low mana values, like even as low as 1, it can brick frog attacks, but then at higher mana values, it can attack through their frogs and their Luris and sometimes their Lavinias and push through damage. So it's not just lizards 5 through 8, it's also kind of Hex Drinker 5 through 8. So in an Agrovine list, after the opening salvo, sometimes the board will stall into the mid game, and that's where you can use your Hex Drinkers, beef them up, and then push through the damage to close it out. This doesn't have Hex Drinker, but it has Stone Coil Serpent, and with workshops and ancient tombs and Gaia's cradles, these Stone Coil Serpents can be really big. Now, I said earlier that I've tried this list out before. That was right before Orcish Bowmasters came out. I was playing this because it was, the leagues were just infested with Jewel, and I was sick of losing to Jewel, and I brought out variants of this list and I was doing really well with it. It was I was crushing Jewel with this list. And then when Orcish Bowmasters came out, it was the hot new thing, and everybody was putting Orcish Bowmasters in everything, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So I shelved it. But I'm bringing it back because, I think it's just going to be fun. And I've played a bunch of practice matches with it recently, and it still does really well against Jewel, and I've had some pretty decent results against Luris. So I want to give this a shot again and see if it can actually be at all reasonably competitive in the present metagame. Onto the sideboard. We have Leyline of the Void for Dredge, and that is really my only Dredge hate. It's super light, I know, and that could totally be wrong. The reason, or really what I'm trying to do with this approach is I'm going to mulligan and Serum Powder aggressively for the Leyline of the Void, and generally speaking, this deck is so good at casting its threats that if you have a Leyline of the Void in your hand, this deck can still function. You can still play all of your other stuff anyway. This could be wrong if Dredge, if Dredge becomes a bigger portion of the metagame, or if I'm playing this in a like a prelim, which is known to have a lot of bizarre decks, I would change this. I think for now it's fine. We've got Force of Vigors for Jewel and Workshop. We've also got the 4th Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, and a Beseiju, help cast those collector oofs in games 2 and 3 against decks like Jewel. Also got a couple of Dismembers, which are there for anything with creatures. Also bring these in against Jewel because of the Masticores. We've got a little bit of anti-combo cards. I really am not thrilled with Mindbreak Trap, but I don't know what it should be, and I'm not going to change it for now. All right, so before going into the first game, thanks Magic Online for leaving up Mindbreak Trap like that. Before I go into the first game, I just want to do a comment on sideboarding, or really just a deck building approach here in general. This is not a mulligan to Bizarre deck, and in fact, against decks like Jewel, I'm sometimes siding out some of the Bizarres and the Hollow ones because I'm really trying to emphasize the anti-artifact stuff. So during this league, you might see me do things like Serum Powder away Bizarre Baghdad's or side out some of the Hollowvine package. And I might be right, might be wrong, but it's my current approach now. Anyway, I've been talking long enough about this deck. Let's jump in to the first round. So apparently I lost the audio for my first 2 matches, so I'm going to record them after the fact through these replays. And we are going to be on the play against what we will see in a moment is a Lurrus player. Okay, so this opening hand, it doesn't do anything. It's perfect Serum Powder candidate, so that is exactly what we will do. This hand, it's got 2 Bazaars, yes, but it doesn't do anything at all, right? Like you can play the Null Rod in turn 1, and then maybe the Bazaar. I agonized over keeping this a little bit, but in my opinion, in my experience, this doesn't have enough action to do it. And like I said, this is not a mulligan to Bazaar deck. This is not like Dredge. So I ended up mulliganing this. This hand also really doesn't do anything. So we're off to a rough start. Going to go ahead and Serum Powder. Keeping a Vengevine. And not feeling great. Gonna mulligan again. And then we ended up here. This is a perfectly serviceable hand. Very good chance that we're going to be able to hit a Vengevine, double Vengevine on turn 1, although we're missing a Hollow One and a Lizard and a Stonecoil Serpent, but plenty of free creatures so that we can go ahead and find that extra creature. But we miss. And there's a decision here about whether or not to get Oof, Gaia's Cradle, or Workshop. I think I'd take the Gaia's Cradle here, but in my opinion, Workshop would have been better. Let's see what I took. I did take the Cradle. Okay. All right, gonna go ahead and activate the Bazaar. Hit a 3rd Vengevine, but no extra creature. Now, I had a decision point here about whether or not to play the Hollow One. I know they're a Lurrus deck, so I know the odds of a Wasteland are probably pretty high, but I felt there was no way I could play this Hollow One. The upside of the triple Vengevines is just too good, and they play plenty of Swords to Plowshares, and you know they have Force of Will as well, so definitely need to hold that back. Very happy that they just did a Tundra pass. Activate my Bazaar, and we hit. And even get to play a Stonecoil for 3, so we're going to put a ton of power onto the table. Got very lucky on this low mulligan. At this point, I'm feeling pretty happy. The only card, and I remarked at this at the time, the only card that could really get me is Balance. But I thought, there's no way that a Lurrus deck has Balance in the main deck. There's no way, right? Wrong. They have Balance in their Lavinia Frog Orcish Bowmasters deck. I don't know if that doesn't seem right to me. Maybe it is. I don't know anything about real decks, so don't quote me on that. I ended up finding another Bazaar. I held it in hand because I want to shop around for some creatures. So next turn, I want to be able to keep a Hollow One in hand and pitch a Lizard. And this deck has very, very low discard equity, so I felt it was correct to hold back the Bazaar. They hit a land, which is a phenomenal draw for them because now they get to get that Lurrus in play. And the clock is on. I found the Hollow One, and here I actually played the Hollow One. I really agonized over that decision because I wanted to be able to hold it back and find a Lizard or a Stonecoil or some other creature to cast, but the problem is they're a Wasteland deck, and if I wait, I might not get that Hollow One in play. Plus, they are at 4 life, right? So when they play this Lurrus, they're going to have to block or they die. So I figured it was worth getting the near guaranteed Lurrus kill than waiting. Obviously going to try to activate, or I'm going to activate a Bazaar in my upkeep. They get a couple of cards with Mishra's Bauble, get another Vengevine in the graveyard. Not really useful. Draw a Lizard, going to go ahead for the attack. Now, I'm feeling okay again. If they don't have that Wasteland, I'm in a good position, right? But they have it. So now they bought more time. But luckily for me, drew a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. So going for the kill. Again, could have tried to hold back the Rootwalla and get those Vengevines into play like a Scrapwork Mutt would, or a Scrapwork Mutt or a Stonecoil Serpent. You can get all 4 Vengevines into play, but they're going to go down to 3 life. Because they didn't Swords, then I felt, okay, now I'm going to have 2 lethal threats in play, and that should be it. They actually forced it, which is interesting, and unless they draw Swords here, I'm pretty good, and they didn't, so on to game 2. And in game 2 of this first match, just going to cover sideboarding very briefly. So trim down on the null rods. Not sure that's actually correct or not, but that's what I did. Trim down the null rods. Like I said in my deck tech, we're going to trim down on the Scrapwork Mutts because they're so bad against Orcish Bowmasters. Brought in the Beseiju, another Yavimai's Cradle of Growth, a couple of Dismembers, and a Misstep for their 1-drops. Basically, that's my way of acknowledging, I'm going to I want to be able to cast my threats more. I want to be able to play a little bit of the longer game. Okay, so this opening hand, I thought about this for a while, but in my opinion, it just doesn't do enough. And like I've said before, this is not a Mulligan to Bazaar deck. I just felt that there could be a better opener here. And maybe this is wrong, right? Like I've got a Once Upon a Time, I've got a Stonecoil Serpent, but I was looking for something with a little more juice. I'm going to powder that away. I'm going to powder this away. And I felt this hand was worth it enough. Like we've got a lot of cards. We've got a lot of mana to cast things like Stonecoil. We've got a Misstep for the 1-drops, a Lizard, a Once Upon a Time. This looked pretty reasonable to me. One thing I don't want to see here is Lavinia, which, spoiler alert, there's Lavinia. Going to respond with a Once Upon a Time. I actually made a misclick in this game, a misclick that I think actually worked out well for me. It's not a misclick, it was just a brain fart, so to speak. So what I wanted to do was pick up the Hollow One because I've got the lands to cast it, but I ended up taking a Wasteland. What happened was I was thinking about like, oh, all right, I'm going to Hollow One and then use my Wasteland. And then as I was thinking of using the Wasteland on the first turn, I just grabbed a Wasteland out of my pile. That's the way it goes. Obviously here, we're going to Wasteland. The Lesser Masticore, it would have been great to get out that Lizard, but Lavinia is stopping that. So the Lesser Masticore is not looking wonderful. It would have been better as a Scrapwork Mutt. They've got a Lotus, which isn't great. I'm going to Wasteland again. Basically, just trying to buy some time to get some more action. And at this point, I'm just getting dominated with the Ancestral and the Black Lotus and the Spell Bomb. I really need some action. And my mental misstep is dead too. I believe I'm going to end up discarding the misstep to the Masticore. At least I'm hoping to get a board presence. And they Swords here. It's really bad news for me because now I can't cast my Lizard like I was planning to. I'm going to get a Collector Oof. So now I'm just going to Bazaar. Need to try to find some way of turning on the Skaze Cradle. Why did I do this on that? Why did I do that in their upkeep? I don't remember why I did that in their upkeep. I don't remember. It's an odd timing. Maybe I got in my head about Bowmasters, but I don't think that particularly makes sense. Yeah, maybe I wanted them to Bowmasters, but lose their Lotus like in their upkeep. But anyway, now I have a Lesser Masticore. Again, the Scrapwork Mutt would have been better here because I'm going to have to pitch a card. I think I discard the Wasteland here. All right, well, now I can get a Lizard in play. Yep, see, I really wish I could have kept that Wasteland. So another point for the Scrapwork Mutt, and I can't cast this. I can't cast this Oof. The Oof would be great to cast. Actually, yes, I can cast this Oof. So here, I can potentially shut down all of their artifacts, but they have a Force of Will. And I'm starting to wonder, like, maybe it's wrong to actually cut the Null Rods. I don't know about that. I feel like the answer is no, but it's just that Null Rod and Oof happen to be really good here. All right, so drew a Wasteland and targeted them with that. Believe this draws Swords to Plowshares. Gonna float mana. Oh, right. So they did a cool thing here. They wanted to preserve their land, so they used their swords and then dazed so that they could pay for it. And so they can still swords me and at the same time preserve their land. It's cool play. So I'm gonna float. But now I get to play the card that I really wanted to play, which is a Stonecoil Serpent. And that's a 4/4. And they've burned through 3 Swords to Plowshares already. Now, I think I do something dumb here. I forget that Lavinia is in play, and I'm like, oh, I've got all these lizards left in my deck. I should start churning for lizards. Obviously dumb. At least I didn't want these anyway. Chalice at 1 could have been good. That's the thing I didn't mention in the deck tech. Chalice at 1's pretty good in this list. There's only 4 1-drops, and against decks like Doomsday and Luris, I'm often pretty happy to drop a Chalice at 1. But my misplay of churning with Bazaar actually got me to this Null Rod, which is awesome on this board. So I get to attack in for 4 because now I'm winning the race. Like I said in the deck tech, the Stonecoils are really good against these Luris decks. They're going to pop their Null Rod. And no, they've just been locked out on black mana like pretty much the whole game. So I'm definitely getting pretty lucky. I won't lie about that. Now they finally hit their black mana and they Demonic Tutor. And I don't know what they're demonicking for because they've already ancestraled. I'm thinking, well, maybe it could be a balance. Maybe it could be their 4th Swords. 4th Swords makes a lot of sense. I'm going to swing in with the Stonecoil, and now I get another Stonecoil. So now I've got 2 4/4s in play. At this point, they attack with the Lavinia, and my initial lizard brain reaction is, I get to kill the Lavinia with my 4/4 Stonecoil Serpent. I'm like, oh, maybe they've got another Lavinia. They could play after it. Maybe that's why they're doing it, but that doesn't make any sense. And I think, well, they just Demonic Tutored. I bet they have a balance. That's what gets me. I block here, and they balance. Obviously, that doesn't leave them in the best state, but it keeps them alive. So I don't really care about my life total, and I just stop. I don't want them to balance me. They play a Frog, and Frog presents a little bit of a challenge. So I can obviously attack in for 8, and I believe that is what I do end up doing here. But I was thinking about, well, maybe I want to attack in for 4, get them down to 6. But I just figured, why not just attack in for 8? The only way I lose is to Time Walk. And actually, maybe I should have kept the Stonecoil Serpents back because they did Demonic Tutor, and I don't know at this point what they have. So maybe they could have a Time Walk. So maybe they're playing Frog and then they're going to Time Walk. I think Time Walk's the only thing that kills me. If you do the math out, a Time Walk will kill me at 9. I ended up attacking. Now I'm thinking that's wrong, but it is what I did. So now they need to deal with both of these lizards, or they need to have a Time Walk. They Brainstorm, which I'm pretty happy to see. Get another land. Attack in. Note that they pitched the balance. So I think they did Demonic for a balance, and I just didn't take the bait. And we win. Got one against Luris. All right. In round 2, up against Iguanale 87, they don't have any recent lists. Historically, I've associated them with things like Bug and Jeskai, but there's no Luris reveal, so they've had a wide range. I'm looking at that first hand. I don't really think did anything. Now with this hand looks pretty good. You know, I've got the turn 1 Null Rod, got some lizards. I've got the opportunity to get a Vengevine. Let's see. They've mulliganed to 5. Lotus, Mox, Saga. Still don't know what they are. And Soul Ring. So, feeling pretty good in this situation. Once Upon a Time to begin. See a Wasteland and a Vengevine, and then go into the tank. I believe that I end up... I think I take a Vengevine. I think I decide I'm not too worried about the Saga. Like, they could have a Force of Will as their last card, and I think there's a good chance that they had a Force of Will as their last card. But I take the Vengevine. I'm just going to take the risk, and I play a Null Rod. And I decide, you know what? If they have an Ancient Tomb, I can survive the one creature they're going to make. Play Workshop. And now I get to do all the good stuff. So Bazaar into double Lizard. Vengevine. I'm going to hold the Stone Coil back where I was going to and play it for a larger mana value. All right, in game 2, let me show you what I did to sideboard. So I took out the Stone Coils, Lesser Masticores, Hollow Ones, and Chalice, and I brought in Mindbreak Traps and the 4 Vigors and the 2 Greenlands. And I know it might look weird to take out these Hollow Ones, but I'm going to be mulliganing as hard as possible for Force of Vigor and Null Rods. So, you know, I'm just less of a Bizarre deck and more of a Null Rod deck now. So this opening hand, it's just a Force of Vigor. I think I can do better. Like the odds of hitting a turn 1 Null Rod are so high. And then we end up with this, which has got a Null Rod and a Wasteland and a Scrapwork Mutt. It's like pretty much exactly what we want. Of course, don't have a Stone Coil Serpent. They mulligan to 6. Obviously can't get a Stone Coil Serpent because I boarded them out. Drew another Null Rod, which is amazing considering I think they force? They do force. They're so low on cards now, and we've got another Null Rod. Null Rod was great. And they play a One Ring, which, unless they draw a Force of Will here, really doesn't matter. Really lucky draw on that Null Rod, but, you know, we play 8 Null Rod effects. Yeah, do that. Gonna waste. Decided to waste a Tomb there because at this point, I just don't want them to get one of those, one of the good Masticores into play and kill the Null Rod. And they just conceded. I think it was premature, but I remember drawing the next couple of cards and was just gonna have hardcast Vengevines and Scrapwork Mutts and all that sort of stuff. All right, 2-0, 4-0 in games. All right, round 3 up 2-0 against a player who appears to have last and only played Oath of Druids. They have 1 result on Goldfish. Oath is a tough matchup. We're going to have to mulligan this. Yeah, there's no Lures reveal, so definitely feeling like this is Oath. And we're on the draw, right? All right, they've mulliganed once. Realistically, I think there's only one way I can beat Oath, and that's by going over the top. So having a really quick Vengevine start. We don't have that. I mean, it's conceivable that they're not playing Oath, like they're playing another non-Lyris deck. Oh, interesting. It's a Pyrogoyf Oath deck. Interesting. Well, I can't keep this hand. This is even worse. Am I going to put back? Strip Mine, Null Rod? I don't know. All right, well, we've mulled very low. I don't think we're going to walk away with this game here. Oh. What are they playing? Okay, so I played myself. They're not on Oath. They're not on Oath, but they're not playing a Lurrus deck. I'm a little concerned that they've got a Bowmaster here. But if it's not that, what would it be? Like a PO deck? A Tinker PO deck? My gut tells me to Wasteland here. Just gonna waste. Interesting pause. Always hard to know how to interpret that, especially online. They do know I'm a bizarre deck, right? Not necessarily. But anytime you see serum powder, you've got to assume. All right, they let that go. Don't tell me this is a mentor. Oh boy. Okay, so this is a big mana, probably PO deck. Wow, what a draw. I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Chalice. I mean, I could keep the Null Rod in hand, but realistically, I think it's probably better to play the Chalice at 0 now and stop them from going super big with the Mentor than it is to cross my fingers and hope I get a Null Rod into play. Maybe I should have let in the Chalice first. Yeah, I was afraid of the Force of Will. But they've got 0 cards in hand. I'll have a Chalice in play. And I'll have 2 Vengevines. I still think I'm in trouble. I'll 100% offer the trade with Mentor. Wonder if I can find out what this list is. Wow, Saga off the top. It's not great for me. All right, I didn't want either of those. Wasteland, please? It's not bad. Saga is going to be big enough to take down my Vengevine. They are going to have to untap this Mana Vault at some point. Basically, I just have to hope that they didn't hit a cheap spell here. A 0 mana spell. Wonder why they're thinking so much. What could this be? mean, they could have hit a cantrip, and they're trying to decide whether or not they want to risk it on hitting a land. Can't find their list anywhere. Well, they are super in the tank. That makes sense. All right, let's get in there. I do not have the luxury of waiting at all. Oh, maybe they have a swords. That would be devastating. Okay, so they had... Oh, Vamp. That's why they were thinking so much, because of the life loss. Thinking like block, block. What do you get here, Ancestral? A little concerned that they'll have Pithing Needle in the deck. All right, so they have to block, block. They're not blocking? Or no, they just haven't chosen yet. Kind of looked like they skipped through their blocks. Yeah, they definitely did. Well, given that I was afraid of Pithing Needle, what I would have done there is activated my Bazaar. And I would have hit double creature to bring Divine back. So I think we probably would have had that either way. I'm sure it doesn't feel good for my what is happening. Those are very big. I think I need them to be that big. So against this deck, I'm a little more afraid than normal, because I'm definitely better against the Luris PO decks than just regular PO. Like, I'm going to have trouble against Sphinx of the Steel Wind if they have it. So given that, a little inclined to do something like this. The stone coils are more important than normal if they have the Sphinx. That said, it's probably not enough. Do I don't play Dismember against Sphinx? Do I don't play Force of Vigor? I've really been so unhappy with these Mind Break traps. I wish I could find their list. I think I'm trying to break serve on the draw. I don't like this hand. This I can keep. Did lose a workshop. That's great news. Holding back the Once Upon a Time. I would rather them I would rather them counter that than Null Rod. All right, so they are in Mindbreak Trap territory. I will fire off the Once Upon a Time here, I think. What did they do with Ponder? They didn't use it? Not really afraid of a Force of Will here. Could have Consign. Basically, I'm just trying to decide, do I want a Wasteland or do I want a Workshop and Null Rod? Kind of inclined to go for the bigger play. Okay. Not feeling too badly about this game. I need to hit some, I'm going to need to hit some action for sure. No land's pretty good. And an oof, huh? All right, now I'm feeling very good about this game. I was wondering if that would draw a concession. Oh, that's fun. Let's do the spicy stuff. Nice. Living the dream now. Even if they have a tabernacle, got the Gaze Cradle. Nice. 3-0, 6-0 in games. On to the next. All right, going into round 4 against Absorbent 3. Is this reasonable against Absorbent? They play a deck that is very hostile both to artifacts and graveyards. So, in order for this hand to be reasonable, I would need to hit Hollow One. What's tricky about this matchup is my non-Bazaar hands aren't good. They're not going to be as good, right? And Null Rod's not good in this match. I'm kind of inclined to powder and hope for something better.
Yeah, they play Tarmogoyfs and Ruptor Flute. I mean, they're changing their list all the time. They could be on something completely different. Well, always red green, but you never know what red green stuff they're going to play. Hmm. Could have been wrong. I just think I felt like I needed better. But maybe you just have to keep that. It's tough. What are they doing? I'm definitely going to powder again, putting probably a Vengevine back in the bottom. Because I need a quick Vengevine start. This hand was so close to me. I guess the odds are where I probably would have hit a Hollow One or a Vengevine just probabilistically, and either of those really opens up the possibilities here. So they've mulled 6. I'm gonna go with um. Is there a world where this is reasonable? You play 4 Wasteland. Like, what does this do here? So I start with the Scrapwork Mutt, discard the Root Walla, play a Chalice, but Chalice isn't particularly good. And I would have a Stone Coil as a follow up. What would I hope to hit off of this Scrapwork Mutt? Like an Ancient Tomb or something else. It doesn't look good. Is there a world where I put Vengevine Ancient Tomb on the bottom and just go Hollow One Stone Coil? Hmm. They're tanking. It could be that I don't want the Null Rod. Instead, I would want Ancient Tomb, Workshop. So much artifact disruption or destruction main, right? Yeah, they've got Force of Vigor's main, Untimely Malfunction. They're starting with 6. Am I really going to get there by mulling to 4? I don't think so, right? I don't think Null Rod does enough. I'm going to keep it. I think this is really bad, but it is what it is. This is the world I'm living in. Okay. I guess the Null Rod was good. Funny, the Null Rod would have been great. Um, hmm. I think I need my Stone Coils all to be big. So that's what I'm going to go for. think we'll be lucky to get out of this game. It's like a Minsk here. I'm in a lot of trouble. Sure looks like it. What is this? That's cool. My stone coils are bigger. That's something. Oh, it's got exalted, so maybe not. Doesn't do anything. All right, I have a 6/6. What is a finality counter? Finality counter on it. I just don't know what that means. Yeah, I'll take it. I need a workshop here or a scrapwork mutt. That is neither. Of note, they do play lightning bolt. I wonder if actually the play was to play a hollow one and jump there. All right, so I'm probably gonna die. Shuffle? Doesn't. Yeah, I had a feeling that this was gonna be tough. Could get me somewhere. It does have trample though, doesn't it? So how do I win this game? It's gonna be a 6/6 coming in. What is a finality counter? 1 sec. I see. So you can bring it back in. Or yeah, I think I'm gonna lose no matter what. Is there any way out of this? I don't think so. I think I have to block the stone coil and they'll just bring it back. Okay, so I'm sure they'll bring it back. Oh, they can't bring it back. They don't have 4 more card types in their graveyard. I see. It's almost like it's important to read cards. I'm still in trouble. I'm still a lightning bolt away from dying. I don't know what other spicy things I've got. That's 3. At least they have some dead cards against me. and an oof. Okay. I need Yavimaya Cradle. I need another Stone Coil. Interesting. Really supposed to play that oof? I don't know. Why they're taking so long. Even a Scrapwork Mutt might not be so bad. I don't know why they're pausing here. Yeah, what are my other good draws? Yavimaya Cradle would be great. Stone Coil would be great. Even a Once Upon a Time would be great. Maybe I could find another Stone Coil Serpent, a Scrapwork Mutt. Another Lizard wouldn't necessarily be awful. I do wonder if I have no good reason to attack in. Like maybe what I want to do is just... Well, no, they're just going to attack in with the oof. Wasteland doesn't do it. Make sure there are 4 or more card types among cards in graveyards. 1, 2, 3. I think they'll block with the oof. And then I'll have a tough decision about whether or not I want to Wasteland. I believe the answer is no. After this point, I'll be any mana producing non-workshop, non-tomb land away from casting the Vengevine. I don't think I can use this waste. Well, I could, right? I need 4 to bring it back. I think I need to buy time. How could they get a sorcery? Have sorcery, have enchantments. What other sorceries do they? Malevolent Rumble. They could get a Vexing Bauble into the graveyard. I don't think I'm supposed to Wasteland here, which is kind of crazy to me. But don't I need to buy time? Probably should have done that last turn if I were going to do it. Okay. Oh, so they're gonna kill me here? Yeah, I think I'm dead. Oh wait, no. Not dead. Let's see. Oh no! Crap. That was really bad. Are there 4 or more card types in the graveyard? Oh, that was really bad. I could have had a Vengevine in play. I just mistook that as a Yavimaya. I mean, what am I supposed to do here? Not attack? I don't think that can be right. But I should have been attacking for 8 here. That could be game losing. Okay, that helps, but my misplay still means I'm probably going to lose. Yeah, that's going to get me. Stonecoil or bust at this point. And I'm dead. Okay. Members, steps, four odds out. Chalice is a maybe. Yavimaya in. Seiju in. I think Chalice is good enough. Yeah, I mean, I think it's this. I mean, even if I had that Vengevine, I still would have lost, ultimately. It's tough. So it's bizarre or bust with this hand. Can't be this either. Stonecoil. This is fine. Hopefully they don't have the ley line. All right. Didn't hit. Hmm. I think it's grab the workshop, lead and workshop next. Bizarre hollow ones. Fine. Mm-hmm. You got it. A tabernacle. All right, I will bizarre. I think I have to go for it. They do play Force of Vigor, so that could get us pretty badly. Maybe I should have kept another creature in hand. Not so bad. Suggests to me they don't have Tabernacle. Why would they do this? Strip Mine's fine. Don't care. What are they going to take? Took Fear of Missing Out. Do that to play around Tabernacle and swing it. I've got a hardcast hollow on next turn. That could do it. Another Wasteland. Interesting. Drew a card. Great. What now? I feel like they're supposed to Wasteland there. Oh, come on. Not a Force of Vigor. Alright, they had it all. Yep. Thought there was a good chance, but at least play it out. That's not gonna do it. He only draws a Bizarre at this point. They went out. I think they'll waste it though. No reason to leave that in. This is pretty much the worst matchup I could have queued into. And they're the only person on the planet that plays. Do it. It's bizarre bust. I got a green source now, so probably just play a Tarmogoyf. Yep. That'll do it. I'm gonna go to a while ago. Nope, that's it. All right, going round 5. The Trophy Dream is dead, but maybe we can eke out a 4-1 at least. Don't really know what this opponent is known for. Looks like they have a result for Grixis Breach. Everything else, different formats. We're gonna powder this. Plug in this. This is fine. Unless they're on Jewel. This is too slow if they're on Jewel. That doesn't bode well. Alrighty. We're on the just need Rod to resolve next turn. The only reason I kept this, because I could turn on the Cradle for the oof. Okay, so that maybe they're on CRK shops. Sure looks like it. Okay. Well, if this is CRK shops, then I can do well against that. If they don't have anything else here. Yeah, fine. They're going to get pretty aggressive here. So I wonder if what I need to do is actually play the Stone Coil. I really don't want to. I'll play the Stone Coil. Root Walla and oof. It would be tough to break through. But that would make me think that I would probably need to take an attack next turn. I think I'll need this battering ram. Need to hold it back. Take a look at CRK's list. Yeah, that's sure what this is. I don't know why the opponent's pausing so much. Maybe it's lagging. Yeah, I think what I have to do is just play an oof here. And next turn, I can play a very big stone. Yeah, so play an oof. They realize what's going on. They could swing in for 5. I think that's okay. I think this is okay. I think I need this to be really big. 3-3 is not going to come. All right. That should stop a lot of the major stuff they're doing. And they've got a Vanishing Land. They're giving me cards too. Like, that's not so bad. Just have to be worried about my life total. Nettle Cyst. Oh, that's pretty good. Uh-huh. That's only a 3/3. It's not so bad. I feel like I'm supposed to Wasteland and 6/6, and I could try to get another. Maybe I just ignored. I could hold it back. Play Vengevine. Not so bad. I don't want to tap this Ancient too. Get a hollow one here. I think this is fine. I'm going to hold this back. Yeah, they don't play Wastelands. Wouldn't mind actually another Cradle. What a weird game. Uh-oh. That's pretty good. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's tap for 1, 2, 3, 4. They can make the Nettle Cyst big enough to attack through the Vengevine. I don't really care about that. I'll just block. You can bring it right back. That's a problem. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, I might lose this. I'm in a lot of trouble now. I'm in a lot of trouble now. Wow. Another one? Ooh, today's not my day. League started off so well. Now they just like attack all. That's yikes. Oh, I'm dead. Wow. Hard. I'll draw one on their upkeep. Am I dead? I'm dead. Oh. I think that Academy is really what put it away. And this card is pretty good. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I can attack through this. Wow. Yeah, I draw 2 on their upkeep, right? Take technically dead. But I just don't have time. I don't have any time. I kind of can't believe it. Yeah, I'm dead. Oh, all right. That was rough. Out, figures in. Did you have MI and dismembers? It's out. Pretty bizarre. Two was crazy. Oh, I sideboard against CRK shops. Cores, dismembers, disruptor flutes, care about cages. The lesser masters. Could take out a Mutt. Hmm. Picking out is bad. Stone Coil seems like it's going to be pretty important. Maybe I play differently on the play versus draw. I don't really know how to board versus this. I know that might look weird, but I'm going to be mulliganing aggressively to the Scrapwork Mutt and the Collector Oof. Already sided out some Bazaars. Yeah. Keep that. It's dicey. But there's a game plan. Gonna lose a lot of life with these dismembers. I don't care about that. I care about like a care about that. The name Wasteland, I guess I care about that, actually. They chose Bizarre. That's fine. Don't know why they're pausing here. I really doubt there's anything more they can do. So it must be lag. I mean, this game is by no means over. So much rather this be a workshop. Three more to cast. Or, so if it's cast, it's three more to cast. If it's an activated ability, you can't. Okay. Okay, so now I'm lagging. Ooh. Kind of changes things, doesn't it? I mean, I've got a lot of green cards. Am I really going to sit? I don't think I'm allowed to sit around and hold that vigor back. I think I just have to start attacking. I'm going to. Rewarded. Now we need a cradle. Dismembers are... I don't know what's been going on with all this lag recently. It was really bad. It was fixed. Then it kind of went away. Kind of came back. I don't know. Even if they play a Patchwork Automaton, you still got the Ancient Tomb to kill it with the Vigor. But more than anything, I need a Gaia's Cradle. Or a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. Okay. Okay, well, that actually does change things, doesn't it? Okay. Am I allowed to play the Stone Coil? I have to. I just have to hope they have, like, no more things. Wow. Okay. We're going to draw well, so that helps. But, okay, on the draw against this, terrifying. Play 3 Disruptor Flutes. Just don't want any hollow ones. If that's the case, it might be hard to break down. But I absolutely need to 2-mana creatures. Elrod. I think this is fine. Just don't know if I boarded this right. I don't really have experience in this matchup. Hmm. Got a good chance at the turn 1 Null Rod. Gotta force a Vigor. Can I possibly afford to put this away? I think the answer is no. I think I keep this. A very graveyardy deck either. Might as well put those away. Interesting. They're really thinking on this mulligan to 6. Or they're lagging. Again. Could be that they're lagging. I was really impressed with this Growling Crawler in game 1. I never would have thought to have put that in a deck like this. Or in any deck, frankly. Kind of played the role of like a Deathrite Shaman and a stalled board where you're just chipping away at their life. Wonder what the odds of hitting an Ancient Tomb or Workshop is. Okay. Oh, their deck plays 4 Manifold Keys, 4 tops. Okay, so the Null Rod is even better than I thought. Okay. That indicator new? Okay, so the lag's on their end because they're clock syncing Soul Ring. Okay. So if they don't... Okay, it's fine. They don't obliterate us here. And I think we've got a really good chance because this Null Rod's going to do a lot of damage. I feel like it's probably too good not to go for it here. And we hit. I mean, that thing is going to beat us down. But I've got the Boseiju for it. I don't think they play any basics. This doesn't look bad. And I'm going to draw a card here. Like, I could get a Force of Vigor. On the flip. Another Null Rod's not what I needed to draw, of course. I'm going to get up to cast Force of Vigor range soon. I just have to hope they have no... And they don't play many lands. They play 15. Feeling pretty safe with the Force of Vigor, but, you know, with a Workshop, this could all open up. They have a land. They've disconnected. That could just be lag. It's either lag or they're conceding, but I don't think they're conceding. No, they're back. Come on, phase out your Scrawling Crawler. Just do it one time. With all this lag, timing them out actually becomes a possibility. Not like a pleasant way to win, but it's a way. There's dozens of dollars on the line here. Maybe a dozen? I don't know. It's not much. Mm-hmm. Oh, they did have the Vexing Bauble. Okay. That's a thing. I get to cast my Force of Vigor eventually, though. Workshop. I don't think they play any basics. Play the Avamai. I kind of want to draw one more time. Dismember's looking kind of rough. I mean, maybe what I do, because I don't want to take 2 damage here. Maybe what I do is yeah, they're complaining about their lag, as they should, because it is pretty bad. They've lost 3 minutes on their clock just basically doing nothing. I don't think it's greedy to use the Passeju here. I think I'd like to preserve my life total, and I can force a Vigor later if I need to. That's they don't play any basics. I think this is fine. What would potentially get me is if they have something with Ward, but I think it'd be hard for them to get a Patchwork really big. Cool artwork. I don't like this little guy. But yeah, I think I should kill this because I'm probably going to need the Tomb for the purposes of casting this Vigor. Yeah, probably what I want to do is kill this next turn, play a Stone Coil for 6, and with the Force of Vigor and Dismember as backup, I think that will probably do it. I mean, what would be really bad for me, I guess, is if they have a Glaring Fleshraker and they just keep, well, even if they keep making little guys, not that big of a deal. I guess the pinging is a deal. Flip. Hopefully they don't have a land. They don't. I will take a card. Another powder is not exactly what I was looking for. My draws have not been... Oh, that's how I die. Not good. They do have the... Yikes. I need a wasteland immediately. Like, right now. That is not a wasteland right now. I could kill this. Go down to 7, go down to 5. I was feeling very good about this game until that. We just never hit a wasteland. Oh no. Okay. Regroup. Think about that. Stone Coil could be a 4/4. Doesn't need to be huge. I don't want this chipping away at me. No, this is going to come down to the wire. I really needed to hit... Well, a green card wouldn't do it. I need to hit any single land will let me cast a Force Vigor if I need. Really what I need is a wasteland. Right? I need... Oh, wow. This. This. And a One Ring? I care too much about the One Ring, but absolutely need a wasteland right here. Can't let the Saga untap. Same two. I get rid of here. Saga and 1, 2, 3, 6. No, wait, 1, 2, 3. That doesn't work. What I wanted to do is also to be able to get rid of the patchwork attack. Absolutely can't do that. Bigger need to hit maybe Cage Saga. Cage do Vexing Bauble do it. Vexing Bauble in theory stops my another Vigor, but I can just cast Vigor. All right. I mean, like, if they draw well, I'm dead. Like, all they have to do is hit a Masticore, which they can cast, or a Flesh Raker, and they just chip me down. That helps, but not enough. That was a phenomenal. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I want to max that out. Let's see how they deal with this. I'm going to attack in. Do they play Dismembers? I don't know if they play Dismembers. At least I can take care of the Master. That's a big deal. I don't think I need to be this more than a... It doesn't need to be more than a 6/6, right? So... Now my Vigor can kill the Patchwork and another thing that comes in. So really, again, my best draw is Wasteland. They play Bounce for the Null Rod. They could Flute. They could Flute naming Vigor. Wow. All right. Well, we got the 4/1. I'll take a 4/1. All right. How do I feel about this deck? I mean, it functioned fairly well. Let's take a look. Oh, it's big again. Let's see. So the lesser Masticores, they didn't really come up much, but there were a couple of hands where I drew them and they wouldn't have been very good, right? Scrapwork Mutt, I think was pretty consistently good the whole time. Stonecoil Serpent was really great against Luris, as we knew it would be. It won that match. Yeah, overall, I think this did pretty well. I think I'm going to take this for a spin in some other leagues and see how things go. Thanks for watching.